Welcome back to my preparation series for the CDT. I talked about T for training and R for route finding, and this video is all about A for appropriate gear. I don't entirely get why, but apparently gear videos seem to be all the rage on social media. To me, gear is more of a means to an end. And the CDT really provides a bit of a paradox when it comes to gear, because you need gear that's on the one side light enough to not break your back on a 3,000-mile hike, and on the other side it needs to be durable enough that it can both last you through the abrasive sands of the Chihuahua Desert as well as through sub-freezing hails in the San Juans. The other issue is that gear failure on a trail like the CDT is really not to be taken lightly. You are out in the backcountry for extended periods of times, and if you have critical gear fail on you along the way, it can become a real safety issue, because exposure is no joke out there. And if you're stranded somewhere in the Bob Marshall Wilderness or somewhere in the San Juans, it can become quite a safety issue. My personal strategy when it comes to gear is really not to be the lightest hiker out there. Sorry, my ultralight purists. I'm trying to be as efficient as possible for a trail that will await me and for the gear that I have on me. In the thru hiking community, 90% of the people carry 90% of the same gear anyway. If you look at any hiker survey of any gear list, you'll see that everybody's more or less carrying the same thing anyways. If you've seen it once, you've really seen it. Now, in terms of gear, I'm not going to be talking about every single item that I'm bringing, but I'm going to talk about the main things. Big three. The first one is really shelters. Carrying with me Z-Pack's duplex tent, which is a not freestanding but a hiking pole standing tent, single wall made out of DCF, and it's waterproof. It has really the best weight to performance ratio on the market, and it's actually two-person tent. You could claim that this would be a luxury item and that it's unnecessarily heavy, but it is the tent that I have, and even the two-people version is not that heavy, so I'm just going to bring that and live in a castle. The other advantage of bringing a two-person tent is also not really an advantage, but there's going to be people joining me along the trail every now and then, and once they're with me, it's handy to have a two-person tent, because then they don't need to bring one themselves and can just stay with me. Single-wall tents tend to have the drawback that they have a lot more condensation than dual-wall tents, but condensation apparently is not so much of an issue in the American Midwest, and so I don't really foresee any complications with that. Now, the other two items are for sleeping. I use an Enlightened Equipment Revelation kilt, which is rated at 30 degrees Fahrenheit comfort temperature. And a lot of people told me that this is probably too cold for both sometimes and some regions of the CDT. Decided to get another one, and now I have two kilts. The other one is a Katabatic Flex quilt, which is rated at 15 degrees Fahrenheit, and that should really get me through both spring and fall and the high elevation regions of the CDT, where you sometimes even have to camp on snow if you're unlucky. Now, that quilt will lie on a Thermarest Neo Air Light something, I don't really know what it's called exactly, air mattress, which is really the new version of the same inflatable pad that I already used on the VL Alpina. Quite comfortable, and apparently the new version is also a lot quieter than the old one, which was quite noisy at night. Now, I'm also going to bring an inflatable pillow. These things generally don't weigh anything at all, and I've just found on the VL Alpina that bringing a pillow is a lot more comfortable than just sleeping on a stuffed sack full of dirty, smelly hiking clothes, which, I mean, it works, but it's just not very comfortable. And since sleep really is the main recovery tool on the trail, I really don't see the trade-off in sleeping on dirty clothes rather than just bringing a pillow and then sacrificing the quality of my sleep for a few grams extra. Now, for the pack, I will bring my trusted Z-Pack's Arc-Haul 62-liter pack, which is arguably quite large, but again, it's the pack that I own. It's the pack that I've made really good experiences with. It works wonderfully with my bag. It's actually a frame pack. It has these carbon fiber frames over here on the side. Hold on, let me get that right there. So these things, which make it really sturdy, and that's really handy on the CDT, because sometimes you have long water and food carries and you're easily carrying 30 up to 40 pounds on your back, and if you have a frameless pack, that just becomes really uncomfortable. Like I said, I made very good experiences with this pack. I'm going to keep it. and it has all the flexibility in terms of space. And I just hope it lasts another through hike. And if it will not, I will probably just get another one because I really love this pack. Now for my poles, I just got myself a pair of Dursten Iceline trekking poles. They're actually carbon fiber. It's the first time that I am trying carbon fiber poles. I read a lot of good things about it and I'm looking forward to using them. I really like bringing hiking poles because they not only provide balance in uneven terrain, which there's a lot of on the CDT, they also help to shift weight and exhaustion from the legs to the upper body. And so I find that really just helps me with endurance on long days. And last but not least, I also need those poles for setting up my tent. Like that, it's not a freestanding tent, so you can't really set it up by yourself. You need hiking poles to prop it up. I really hope they last. I have 2 of them. You know, if push comes to shove, I can also set up the tent with only 1 of them. But if they should both break, I will probably just revert back to aluminium poles. In through hiking, there is this trend called cold soaking. And that really means is that people just don't bring stoves and fuel, but they just bring rehydrated food and mix it with cold water, let it soak for hours at end, and then eat it cold. I get it, it saves weight, but to me, it's not worth it. I think the psychological effect of both a hot meal after a cold and potentially wet day or even coffee in the morning just outweighs the weight penalty by a mile. I will be bringing a small stove and a gas canister to just have some food along the way, some hot food. Living on fumes, it's fine for a while, but it's really not a long-term strategy. And if you do that for weeks at end, you're just not gonna enjoy what you're doing out there. I really enjoy capturing my experience using videos and pictures, and bringing the equipment that I need to do so is for me really less of a luxury and more of a necessity to hike the way I want to hike. And since hike your own hike is really the motto of the CDT, that's what I'll be doing. Any gear list is really a trade-off between weight, comfort, experience, budget. All of these factors need to be weighed in. And if you're really interested about gear, I will put a list of all the items that I'm bringing in the description for you to see what it actually looks like. And you know, once I have packed my bag in April, I might do a video and actually show all that stuff so that you have an idea of what is actually in my backpack when I'm out there on the CDT. Right, that is all I have on the gear topic at this point. If there's anything missing or if you have any questions about any of those topics, just let me know and I will try to answer them in the next video. The next video will be about intake. We're talking about my food and resupply strategy, water management and all of those issues on a long distance trial.